He regain his title. He can. The second in history. Hurricane Fly is the champion hurdler again. And it's Fahid who's bounding clear up the hill. And he is a machine.
Fitzgerald jumped it perfectly. And the super sub, Andy Power, has won the Stan James champion hurdle.
Two great hurdlers racing to the line. And Beaver the Dirt Chance retains his title.
But it's Honeysuckle in full bloom again.
Feature race of day one is the champion hurdle. It may not be the best race of the week in terms of competitiveness, but we are going to see an absolute worldie of a horse in Constitution Hill. Obviously, the way that I've introed this means that, who knows, something could happen. I doubt it. I think he just absolutely bolts up. I'm going to show the exchange market up on the screen as well as the bookie stuff. You'll see a bit of a difference between those markets, because I guess that could be part of the point, right? We don't necessarily need to spend time here rimming Constitution Hill, do we? Even though we all want to, we'd all do it. Let's not pretend. I'll quickly run through some of the markets as well. We'll look at the champion hurdle without Constitution Hill. Daryl, obviously he just wins. You love this horse as a novice hurdler as well. I mean, to be fair, again, all three of us quite liked him as a novice hurdler. You did the most. He is an absolute worldie. Maybe it's worth talking about the State Man and like his performances and like how close you think he could probably get, and is he necessarily best of the rest? But I'll sort of leave it to you to talk how you want to talk about it. But like I say, maybe with a mind, is there something in the without market?
Yeah, well, State Man's 4-6 on the Betfair Sportsbook in the without market. I thought it was a cracking run the last day. I thought Vauban ran really well as well. In a normal year, these two would, be fighting out favouritism, and we'd be looking forward to I don't want to say a more exciting champion, but a more exciting betting heat, if you like, come March. But Constitution Hill is just, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything better than him. I remember the day I saw him at Sandown and just immediately, I don't think I've ever immediately just walked away and just backed a horse for Supreme. I think he's just unbelievable, really. So it's going to be very difficult to beat. I don't know how you get him beat. That's the problem. He can sort of sit in behind. He can make the run in. There's no real chinks to his armour, not that we've seen yet. So it might be a case of Willie Mullins trying to sort something tactically out, unless he just wants them to run and just to see how good they are against him. In terms of a bet in this race, I mean, a long time ago, I thought Bob Ollinger at 40-1 without might have been a bet. He's now 10-1 without. Again, I thought he wanted to come back to 2 miles, not go out to 3. So he'd be slightly interesting. But I like the way Vauban shaped behind State Man. He could never pick him up, but and he was well supported, so you'd think he was fairly fit that day. But I think there's more to come from him. He's Vauban's the old type of champion hurdler. Do you know what I mean? Like the Bouvardere type of champion hurdler, as opposed to Constitution Hill, is just completely different. I don't think he'll be able to beat Constitution Hill, so I'd only consider backing him in the without market, because I don't think he's got that much to find with State Man. So perhaps that's the way to go, or look at a match bet between the two. But I am struggling, I've got to be honest.
So before I move on to Jamie, without saying a single word about her, Honeysuckle's completely and utterly written off out of your mind completely, is she?
Who, me, is it?
Oh. No, I was going to say, just let Daryl answer that, because I think we all had it, didn't we? It was disappointing that she goes and gets beat with it, but it was over 2 miles 4. She wasn't necessarily going to be completely wound up for that day. I know they talked in the aftermath straight about the mare's hurdle, but just wanted to know from your side, Daryl. Like I say, we haven't even mentioned the 2-time champion hurdler in there. And this isn't to say we have to talk about her, but like I say, the gut feel I get from you there is that even if she runs in the champion hurdle, you don't think she's got any chance anymore.
I don't think she'd have any chance if Constitution Hill wasn't in this race. I don't think she'd have any chance of beating State Man or Vauban. I think she's just been around at a time when it's been a very, very poor 2-mile division. And she's been the best of a bad bunch. I've said it for a long time. And it's only now that we're finding out, because we only now have 3 horses that are actually capable of running into the 170s, whereas before we didn't even have that. And if you go back before her short period of domination, that's what horses were doing in the champion hurdle. They weren't at the period of time she was around. You can't knock her for what she's done. She's done to beat what's in front of her, granted. But when it now comes to proper horses, she's not even on my mind.
Perfect. And Jamie, how do you see the race, mate? So like I say, maybe from like a without perspective, that stuff, because I know it may be taken something for granted, but there's nowhere in the world do you think Constitution Hill gets beat, is there?
Not a chance, Dave, no. The only horse I fancy, if there was ever a chance of beating Constitution Hill, is Vauban. I really liked the run the last day. I thought Danny Mullins gave it a crap ride, to be honest with you. Now, there is a bit of problem with his jumping at the start of a race, but like he was beaten on debut last year by Pied Piper, so I wouldn't take any notice of him being beaten the last day. I think when it comes to DRF, which is coming up, Honeysuckle, Stateman, and Vauban, I'm going to be on Vauban that day, and I think Vauban will beat the two of them. I know Stateman's been solid, has improved all year, but no, it's Vauban if without or each way, whatever way you want to play with it. Constitution Hill will win, but my each way play betting without is definitely Vauban. Yeah.
Nice, I like it. So that's the thing with it. Like again, like trying to find an angle or an edge in, because like I say, it doesn't need anyone to do a video preview like this to say that we think Constitution Hill Constitution Hill will win. Probably, like people might argue, like if something happens to him, ill fate or whatever it is. Obviously, we don't want that stuff to happen. Someone will be ignorant enough to be like, well, why didn't you try and look for some value in behind? And it's like there's such a thing, isn't there? You'll see a 1 to 3 poke in a class 5 somewhere, like it wouldn't really happen. But you see 1 to 3 pokes that are bad, and then you get stuff like this where he's like an obscenely short price, but he's an obscenely short price for the right reason. Like he potentially, if you asked 1,000 people, he would potentially look like he's an okay-ish price. The
value could be on the Dave. The value could be on the day in the distance markets. Like genuinely, I'm just talking like 3 lengths or more, 4 lengths. Yeah. I'm not talking 10 or 12. I'm talking 3 or 4. You know, and what you're doing is you're enhancing his price, because you look at what he's done so far. He hasn't won by small margin. He's not one of these horses that just does enough. So if he's going to win and he's going full hell for, we've not seen this horse full hell for leather ride yet, have we? We've not even seen him be touched with a stick, right? Now he might not find nothing when asked, right? He might just do it all, you know, on the bridle, but he's still winning it by a country mile. And I'll tell you now, if you get on the day, they're going to be trying to take him on some way or another. And those distance bets could just be looking for a bit of value. And I'm not talking 10 lengths, I'm talking 3 or 4. And that could be the way to play him.
Yeah, happy days. And that's the way to look at it. I think, again, it'll be a race where there'll be tons of concessions because he is so short. And I'll be honest with you, he's been so short since the back end of the Supreme last year. I can't imagine the bookies have got any serious liabilities on him. So at some point, to balance the book with the ones that people are backing him behind, they're going to want to get him, like, give a bit of a price out. So, yeah, it will be really interesting. Jamie, it's like so good as well that this time of year is the important thing to do with it, because just because we're looking at the champion of that picture doesn't mean that there isn't an opportunity to think of the bigger picture, but then to use it to your advantage in the short term. And I like the idea of Vauban at Dublin Race Festival, because it'll be interesting to see how they're priced for that race. And given the fact that we all saw what Vauban did, so that's
Stateman will be favourite, Dave. You know yourself. Yeah. Honeysuckle will be like a point bigger, and Vauban will be a point bigger than them. And that'll be it.
The thing is, you'd have to have 2 bets on that day, wouldn't you? One of them would be either in the without market in the Champion Hurdle and on the day of the thing. So that's a good point to bring up, Dave, because you know that's what you need to be doing to get the maximum value out of these.
Maximum value, if you can get any value out of the market now at the moment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've wrapped up the Champion Hurdle quite nicely there. Like I say, this is another one I do feel like you potentially could play the Vauban bit before, and there are like smart things to do. Again, from concessions and stuff, I reckon it could be waiting for the day sort of thing. But Constitution Hill just absolutely wins. Let's just witness the greatness. So thank you again. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment below if there's anything else you fancy or you disagree with. And then we'll be moving on to the Mayor's Hurdle, which you will be able to find in a link somewhere on the screen.